You're back with In Session in Arizona versus Tammi Smith. Well, Tammi Smith has been on the stand for the past 2 days defending what she did in an attempt to adopt baby Gabriel Johnson. But right now, let's talk about her testimony and how she's been doing so far on the stand. And we're going to talk to international defense attorney Meg Strickler. Okay, Meg, good to see you. And Meg, the thing that strikes me about her testimony, she just keeps talking and talking and talking over and over again. And I have to ask you this question. Do you think this is helping or hurting the defense?
I think this is hurting the defense because when you do a direct examination, even though you ask your questions, the what, what, where, when, and why, you still guide the witness. But here you just see her blah, 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 babbling on and on and on, and I get lost with all of her babble because she's making no sense. I mean, some of the things she says is just crazy. I didn't know that was a courthouse. I didn't know that was a legal document. Some of the things she says has no credibility, and then she's babbling. It makes her look like she's nervous and that she's trying to cover things up. Both are not good for the defense.
So what do you think of, and I don't want to cast aspersions on her defense team, but one thing I notice here is they're letting her talk. No one's pulling her aside and saying, oh, just answer the question very confidently and kind of quietly, just maybe with a little bit of a smile to not alienate the jury. But, hey, they're just letting her go on and on. Do you think do you think they should do more to try to get her to be a little more specific?
Yes, you need to ask more succinct questions. And also, you have a code that you give your client before you put her on the stand. So if you itch your ear, you scratch your head, stomp your foot, whatever, there's little codes that say, all right, you're talking too much, you're going the wrong place. You don't coach your witness, but you get her ready. You do a trial before trial and have her testify in your office. You get her ready for the environment so that she testifies in a very sincere way. That's not going on here at all. Like you just said, the defense attorney is kind of like saying, what happened next, and then going back and having some coffee or something. That's what it looks like. And so it doesn't come across as sincere to the jurors. The jurors expect to hear from the defendant. They love when the defendant testifies. But here, it's not working. It's not working at all.
Let me play devil's advocate, though. Here's the flip side. When we saw her on the tapes, when we saw her in the police interviews, she was talking, just wouldn't stop talking. But some might say, okay, well, she takes the stand and she starts to clam up and she gives those one-word answers. Does the jury look at her and say, oh, you know what? We know that she talks freely when she's talking on tape. Why is she not talking here?
Good point. But I think there's a level, a spectrum of babbling. She could lower it down to maybe an 8, and it would be better. I agree. If she went, no, yes, that would look bad. And look for a little clamming up for the cross-examination, because when she's asked questions she doesn't want to answer, I'm interested to see how her demeanor changes when the prosecution gets to her.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, let's talk about, you mentioned something really important where she's talking about she doesn't know about certain legal documents. What strikes me about that is she says that, but at the same time, she says, hey, you know what, I'm not going to adopt this baby unless I have that guardianship document. Do you think that she's kind of picking and choosing what she knows? And if so, how does that play to the jury?
I think that sounded dangerous because she sat there and described in detail how the adoption process happens. I wouldn't know that unless I was a lawyer. I wouldn't know that unless I learned about adoption for a reason. So she went through all the different steps and said, well, I wasn't going to adopt the baby yet. But then in the next statement, so to speak, she says, I didn't know that was a courthouse. I didn't think that guardianship paper really was a legal paper that people had to file. She made very inconsistent statements there, which doesn't come across well at all.
And she continues to say something's not right here, but she proceeds down the path. Now, this is a conspiracy claim, so it's got to, I say it takes 2 to tango. So she and Elizabeth Johnson have to be in cahoots to impede the rights of Logan McCreary. So even though maybe she's thinking something's not right, but she's still going forward, even though her actions may be a little bit suspect, are you seeing the seeds of the conspiracy charge?
I do, because she's not making sense again. When you're trying to get guardianship or adopt a baby, you need to go ahead and get paternity of the baby to show who the father is. So the fact that she wrote somebody else's name on that document, I think is pivotal. It shows that she was conspiring with the mother to say, look, we don't know who the father is, or we're not going to deal with the father. That way we can adopt the child. And then all the different texts and phone calls and whatnot show that there's something not making sense. When things don't connect, between both of these people, Johnson and Smith, it really doesn't pass the smell test. So I do think they have proven the conspiracy charge.
Okay, one more thing for you. Let's say you're her lawyer. Let's say you say, oh, you know what, Judge, can I have a recess? Just want to talk to my client a little bit. What do you tell her going forward in terms of how she should give her testimony?
You always tell your client to be genuine, to not obfuscate, and maybe that's too big of a word for some of the clients, but you want to make sure they come off genuine. Don't answer anything that's not, when your questions, especially on cross, just answer what was asked, nothing else, because then you're being genuine, but you're not giving additional information. Again, I want my witness, either if it's on direct or cross, to just simply stay focused. That's when testimony makes sense, a chronology comes out that way, it comes succinct, et cetera, et cetera. And in this situation, both of them need to get together this weekend and kind of put their stuff together. So also when Tammi Smith is out there sitting on the defense table, she needs to kind of act a little differently also. Her body language is not working for me in this case at all.
Why? Why?
Well, because she's so perky and so strange, and the way she was acting with her husband, it's making me, if I was a juror, think something's not all right here. She's a little off, which, hey, that's okay. But being a little off and then her behavior makes me think she knows more, and she's not giving us everything when she's testifying.
Okay, Meg, thank you so much. Appreciate it.